I straightened my navy blazer and checked the clock. 5:15. The faculty meetings had ended an hour ago, leaving my office quiet except for the hum of fluorescent lights. I was reviewing quarterly reports when Marcus appeared in my doorway. He leaned against the frame, still in his security uniform. 23 years of marriage, and he still looked solid, dependable. Gray touched his temples now, but his shoulders remained broad. Claire. His voice carried something I couldn't place. You're early. I set down my pen. Shift doesn't end until 6. He stepped inside, closing the door behind him. The gesture felt deliberate. Marcus never closed doors, unless something was wrong. There's a technical break this weekend, he said. Buildings will be empty. Maintenance is upgrading the camera systems. I waited. He had more to say. I want you to do something. He moved closer to my desk. Something not entirely proper. My hands stilled on the papers. Proper was our language. Proper dinners, proper conversations, proper lives. We'd built our marriage on propriety, like a foundation of careful stones. What do you mean? Saturday night, the auditorium. His eyes held mine. There will be people waiting, security staff, older men who understand discretion. Heat crept up my neck. Marcus, what are you? You've hidden yourself for so long. He sat on the edge of my desk, close enough that I caught his familiar scent of coffee and aftershave. Those long sleeves, those careful words. I see who you really are underneath. The camera mounted in the corner caught my attention. Red light steady, always recording. Marcus followed my gaze. Not everything needs to be documented, he said quietly. I stared at him. This man I'd shared breakfast with for over 2 decades, who knew I took my coffee black and preferred silence in the mornings. Who was he asking me to become? If you're ready, he said, standing, let go. He left my office door open when he walked away. I woke before dawn, Marcus already gone for his Saturday shift. The house felt too quiet. I made coffee and stood at the kitchen window, watching frost melt on the back fence. My reflection in the glass showed a woman in a sensible nightgown, hair pulled back, no makeup. 42 years old and invisible by choice. I'd perfected the art of not being seen. The envelope waited on the kitchen counter where Marcus had left it, my name written in his careful handwriting. Inside, a key card and a note. Auditorium B, 8 p.m. Trust me. I held the plastic card up to the morning light. Such a small thing to carry such weight. It granted access to places I'd never been, despite working at the college for 15 years. The Performing Arts Building had always felt foreign to me, full of students who expressed themselves without shame. I spent the day cleaning house, folding laundry, making a dinner Marcus wouldn't be home to eat. Normal Saturday tasks that felt surreal given what waited in my purse. At 7:30, I changed clothes 3 times. The navy dress was too formal, the gray sweater too casual. I settled on black slacks and a white blouse, sleeves rolled to my elbows, a small rebellion. The campus was empty, parking lots dark except for security lights. My heels clicked on wet pavement as I approached the Performing Arts Building. The key card trembled in my hand. The lock beeped green. The door opened. Inside, emergency lighting cast everything in amber shadows. I followed signs to Auditorium B, my footsteps echoing in the corridor. Each step felt like crossing a bridge I couldn't uncross. The auditorium doors stood open. Beyond them, darkness waited. I touched the card in my pocket one more time, then stepped inside. House lights illuminated the stage in a warm pool. The rest of the auditorium remained dark, seats empty and watching. I stood at the back, pulse hammering in my throat. 3 men waited near the orchestra pit. Not young college boys, but men with silver hair and confident postures. They wore casual clothes, sweaters, khakis, the kind of outfits that suggested weekend plans with wives and grandchildren. The stage drew me forward. Polished wood stretched under the lights, marked with tape lines from previous productions. I'd never stood on a stage before. The space felt enormous and intimate at once. Claire. One of the men spoke my name like he'd been expecting me. He had kind eyes and calloused hands. We've heard about you. I found my voice. What did you hear? That you're ready to be seen? The second man stepped closer, tall, with a gray beard and gentle smile. Only what you want. Only what feels right. The third remained quiet, watching. He had an artist's fingers and paint under his nails. All 3 studied me with appreciation, not hunger, like they saw something I'd forgotten existed. I walked to center stage. The lights warmed my skin through the thin blouse. Below, the men formed a loose circle, giving me space while staying close enough to matter. Your husband loves you, the bearded one said. He wants you to remember who you are. I understood then. This wasn't betrayal. It was excavation. The first man climbed the steps to the stage. He moved slowly, giving me time to object. When I didn't, he approached until we stood arm's length apart. May I? He gestured toward my hands. I nodded. He took my fingers in his, examining them like artifacts. Beautiful hands. Do you play piano? Used to. Music doesn't leave you. It just goes quiet. His touch was warm, respectful, nothing rushed or demanding. When he released me, I felt the absence. The artist joined us on stage, standing to my left. The bearded man remained below, watching with gentle attention. Close your eyes, the artist said. Feel the lights. I let my eyelids fall. The stage lights painted everything red through my closed lids. The first touch came as fingertips against my wrist. Light pressure, testing. When I didn't pull away, the hand traveled to my shoulder, then traced the line of my collarbone through the white fabric. Beautiful, a voice whispered. The speakers carried the word throughout the empty auditorium, though I couldn't tell if it came from the men beside me or somewhere else entirely. The bearded man joined us on stage. 3 sets of hands now, moving with careful choreography. One smoothed my hair back from my face. Another found the pulse at my throat. The third traced patterns on my back through the thin blouse. I kept my eyes closed and let them map the body I'd hidden for so long. Under suits and cardigans, beneath layers of propriety and careful distance, they touched me like I was art worth studying. Let go, the speakers whispered. Marcus's voice, distant but present. Let them see you. My breath came faster, not from fear, but from recognition. This was who I'd been before marriage, before responsibility, before I learned to make myself small. Someone who could stand center stage and accept admiration without apology. The hands grew bolder. Buttons opened. Fabric shifted. Cool air touched skin that hadn't seen light in years. I should have felt exposed, vulnerable. Instead, I felt powerful. Yes, the speakers breathed. Perfect. Time moved differently under the lights. Minutes or hours, I couldn't tell. The men's touches remained reverent, never crossing into demand. They worshipped at the altar of a woman remembering herself. When it was over, when the last button was refastened and the final caress ended, I opened my eyes to find all 3 men watching my face instead of my body. Thank you, the artist said simply. I nodded, not trusting my voice. They left the stage one by one, disappearing into the darkened auditorium like gentlemen after an evening at the opera. I stood alone under the lights, changed in ways I couldn't yet name. The silence stretched until footsteps echoed from the wings. Marcus appeared, still in his security uniform, eyes bright with something between pride and hunger. You were magnificent, he said. Marcus led me through corridors I'd never seen, past storage rooms and utility closets, to a door marked security personnel only. His keycard opened it with a soft beep. The security room was smaller than I'd imagined. Banks of monitors lined the walls, showing empty hallways, vacant classrooms, the auditorium where I'd just performed. The camera angles captured everything, every gesture, every touch, every moment of my transformation. You watched, I said. It wasn't a question. Every second. He sat in the chair facing the monitors. 23 years I've been watching you disappear. Tonight, I watched you come back. I studied the screens, camera feeds from across campus, but only one that mattered. Auditorium B, stage still lit, now empty. The tape would exist somewhere, digital evidence of what we'd done. The men? Colleagues, retired professors, men who understand the difference between appreciation and possession. Marcus touched a control panel, and the auditorium feed went dark. They won't speak of this, neither will the recording. I sank into the chair beside him. My body still hummed with the memory of careful hands, respectful touches. I felt more awake than I had in years. Why? I asked. Marcus was quiet for a long moment, studying the dark monitors. Because I was losing you. Not to another man or another life, but to safety. You were disappearing into those long sleeves and proper dinners. I could see you suffocating. The camera feeds showed empty buildings, vacant spaces where life happened during daylight hours. At night, the college belonged to security guards and cleaning crews, to people who worked in the shadows. I wanted to give you permission, he said, to be seen, to be touched like you deserved, to remember that you're not just my wife or the department coordinator. You're Claire. I reached for his hand. His fingers were warm, familiar after all these years, but something had shifted between us, a boundary crossed that couldn't be uncrossed. What happens now? Now we go home. He stood, offering his hand, and we figure out what comes next. The monitors went dark, one by one, as he shut down the system. We left the security room together, walking through empty hallways toward the parking lot where our separate cars waited. I drove home alone, windows down despite the cold, feeling the night air on my skin like a promise. Sunday morning arrived gray and quiet. I woke to find Marcus already downstairs, making coffee with unusual care. He'd laid out the good china, the cups we saved for holidays and anniversaries. We sat across from each other at the kitchen table, the newspaper untouched between us. The silence felt different than our usual comfortable quiet, charged, expectant. "How do you feel?" he asked finally. I considered the question. My body felt tender, awakened, my mind clear in a way it hadn't been for years. But underneath the liberation ran a current of uncertainty. "Changed," I said honestly. He nodded like he'd expected that answer. Good changed or complicated changed? Both. We drank our coffee and watched cardinals at the bird feeder outside the window. Ordinary Sunday morning tasks, reading, laundry, grocery planning, felt surreal after Saturday night's theater. "The stage lights are still on," I said, though I meant something deeper. Marcus understood. They don't have to go out. That afternoon, I stood in my closet looking at rows of long-sleeved blouses and conservative dresses. The navy blazer I'd worn Friday hung precisely aligned with its matching skirt. Professional armor, carefully maintained. I selected a sleeveless dress I'd bought years ago but never worn. Red silk that skimmed my knees and left my arms bare. When I looked in the mirror, I saw traces of the woman who'd stood center stage. Marcus found me in the bedroom, adjusting the dress's neckline. His expression shifted when he saw me. "Claire." "Too much?" "Not nearly enough." He crossed to me, hands settling on my bare shoulders. You're beautiful. We made love that afternoon with a tenderness we'd lost somewhere in the middle years of marriage. Slow and deliberate, like we were rediscovering each other's geography. When it was over, we lay tangled in afternoon light, my head on his chest. "The men," I said. "Will I see them again? Do you want to?" I considered it. The memory of careful hands, respectful appreciation, the feeling of being truly seen. Maybe. His chest rose and fell beneath my cheek. "Then maybe you will." Outside our bedroom window, the world continued its Sunday routine. But inside our house, something fundamental had shifted. We'd crossed a bridge together, and there was no going back to who we'd been before. Monday arrived with typical November rain. I dressed for work in the red dress from Sunday, adding a cardigan that I left unbuttoned. Small rebellion, but visible. The college hummed with Monday energy, students rushing between classes, faculty clutching coffee cups, maintenance crews repairing weekend damage. I walked through it all feeling like I carried a secret that changed the color of everything. My office looked the same desk, same filing cabinets, same view of the parking lot. But I felt different sitting behind the familiar space, more present, more myself. At 10:30, Marcus appeared in my doorway. Not unusual, he often stopped by during his rounds, but today he carried something, an envelope, thick and cream-colored. "Delivery," he said, setting it on my desk. Inside, I found a key card. Not the same one from Saturday night, but similar. This one was silver instead of white, with different magnetic coating. "What building?" I asked. "Art studio. Professor Emeritus has space there. Retired last spring." Marcus sat on the edge of my desk, same position as Friday afternoon. He sculpts, needs models sometimes. Respectable work. The keycard felt warm in my palm. Another door, another choice, another chance to be seen. The others? Music practice rooms, theater workshop space. The college has many quiet corners for those who know where to look. I understood. Saturday night hadn't been an ending, but a beginning. A doorway into a version of myself I'd forgotten existed. The woman who could stand center stage and accept admiration without shame. "Tonight?" I asked. "Whenever you're ready." I slipped the key card into my purse beside my car keys and office access. 3 plastic rectangles that granted entry to different versions of my life. Professor's wife. Department coordinator. Woman worth watching. The rain stopped around noon, leaving the campus washed clean and bright. I spent the afternoon reviewing budgets and scheduling meetings, normal Monday tasks that felt less ordinary somehow. Like I was performing the role of administrative professional, while something more authentic waited underneath. At 5 o'clock, I locked my office and walked to the parking lot. Marcus stood by his security vehicle, radio crackling with evening shift reports. When he saw me, he smiled. "See you at home?" he asked. I held up the silver keycard. "Eventually." His eyes brightened with pride and something deeper. Permission. Trust. Love complicated by new possibilities. I drove toward the art building as sunset painted the campus gold. The keycard waited in my purse, promising another stage, another audience, another chance to remember who I'd always been beneath the careful clothes and proper words. The red dress felt perfect for whatever came next.